The 11th of April, Ukraine Media Center is on. Your anchor is Svetlana Necheperenko. Today we are talking about the National Multidisciplinary Test, the way it will be conducted this year, and the specifics of it. Our guest is Tetiana, the director of the Ukrainian Center for Educational Quality Assessment, Tetiana Vakulenko. Ma'am, the first stage for the registration has been over. How many school leavers have you registered? We have about 312,000, but the personal cabinets have been set up for more than that. There have been some school leavers who have not been registered. They might have changed their minds. How many applicants do you expect for the upcoming year? We expect to be 3,000 to 5,000 applicants and school leavers, but the situation is changing very drastically, so it's difficult to forecast the numbers. Will there be some specifics of the NMT for this year that we should be aware of? The testing will duplicate what we saw last year. There will be 4 disciplines that you will have to pass your test for: Ukrainian language and mathematics, and the history of Ukraine, then the 20-minute break, and then the optional test. The history of Ukraine is the exception compared to last year because it will envelop more topics that we saw last year. Last year, the history covered from Bogdan Khmelnytsky period until present. In general, what is the procedure for the current year? The approach is the same. The applicants will sit their exam at the relevant centers, either here in Ukraine or abroad, where there are computerized classes. For every participant, there will be a special place, meaning a computer, a monitor, and a mouse. They will come in, will be identified by presenting their passports or IDs. They will be instructed on the rules of what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. They are working on their own for 2 hours, sitting the exam for Ukrainian language and mathematics, where they distribute the time at their own will. Either they start with mathematics or the Ukrainian language, then they will have a break where they're asked to leave the classroom, either go to the restroom or have a snack, and they come back and will sit the Ukrainian history, language, and the optional test. I would like to focus more on the procedures for the tests held abroad. How will they differ from those conducted here domestically? What are the countries where children will sit their exams? It's now 4 years in a row that these tests have been conducted. It's a major challenge that we are constantly facing because we don't have readily available classrooms or centers abroad. Every year we request the foreign partners for the assistance, and they organize these computerized rooms. We are searching for the teachers abroad who are able to conduct the class in the Ukrainian language, just like we do here in Ukraine. The tests will be accompanied by the verbal assistance. Of course, the language environment abroad is different, but for the specific countries, they're the same that we saw last year. This year, we will be holding tests in 33 countries. In some countries, there will be more centers, including Poland or Germany, where there are so many Ukrainian refugees. There are countries where we have just few school leavers. For example, the city of Zagreb in Croatia, the capital city of that country, where we have a few applicants, but there'll be a separate testing point. So we cover all the European countries plus USA and Canada and Azerbaijan. How many school leavers have registered? What is the percentage rate? It's about 20,000 applicants, which is less than 10% compared to last year's 20%. But it's too early to suggest specific numbers, because last year we received about 20,000 applications, which turned out to be 16,000 children who passed the test. In the temporarily occupied territories, young people are considering an option for applying for education in Ukraine as a way to leave the occupied territories. Unfortunately, we cannot organize testing in those territories or in the territories of the active hostilities. However, at the time of registration, the applicants are not obliged to indicate their place of living. So once they have been registered either in period before or in this period of time that is additional time, we are very happy to see them in the territory that are completely controlled by the Ukrainian government. Statistics, unfortunately, on such youngsters is not available because we don't ask them while registering to indicate their place of residence. They can also apply for Ukrainian universities without NMT results. We know about the young people who come here to the Ukrainian-controlled territories for them to choose their future specialities and vocations. So these people enjoy, shall I say, some kind of freedom in their choice. We believe that they will take an advantage of that. The minimum passing grade, what will be for the current year? It'll be 15% of the overall grades, just the same procedure as we had last year. These are different subjects. Physics, for example, we have 20 assignments on physics because there are a lot of calculations to be made, and every assignment takes a lot of time and effort. So the grades will be different, but altogether they might constitute not less than 15%. What would be your suggestion how to get prepared for such an NMT? Hopefully, children and their parents who are listening to us have been preparing for the NMT, are well aware of what should be done the upcoming month, April and May. Perhaps they should be aware by now, unless they have not started preparing beforehand, they will be successful. If a student is doing very good at school, they should be aware in terms of time management, because the assignments are just the same as they're used to doing in their school years. Computer format, of course, is some kind of restriction. In mathematics, for example, we offer the students to take advantage of the reference materials, but you should be aware of the time management. Once you delve into the reference materials, you will lose a lot of time. But what you have to do, you have to be aware of how to work with the reference materials, not to lose the time, to do some notes while exam, and there you can manage your time and move forward. This is the strategy of assessment. The strategy of assessment is something that you can cope with during the upcoming April and May months. Perhaps you can take advantage of the online school where the specialists from the Institute for Educational Development, they have put up example assignments that were posted for the exam last year's. This is the first thing. In parallel, I would suggest that after you have coped with every single test, you should analyze what the mistakes have been and how to avoid them in the future. Once you have a lot of mistakes, then there is an issue of strategizing. When I sit an exam, I have to be aware where are the assignments where I should not spend a lot of time because I'm not very well versed in those particular topics. I'd rather focus on the assignments where I am sure and I am very confident that I stand a chance of solving such assignments very good. And perhaps you will have some time at the end of the exam. You should concentrate on those that you have not come up with. So I would imagine that you should, in terms of preparation, construct such a structure of tests, for example, for 4 hours time, to sit down a test on your own. Thank you very much. You mentioned that this will be a 4th time in a row. We used to have the so-called external examination. Do we foresee that the independent test will come back? Perhaps the current national multidisciplinary test has taken a lot of features from what we used to have because we are outsourcing the assignments. Administration of the assessment is similar everywhere. The difference between the classical external examination is that it will be computerized rather than paper-based, and perhaps computerization means more objectivity. The contents that children are working with can be presented in a number of formats, and perhaps computerized is more exciting than the assignments on paper. But the assessment process affected by the full-scale war has been that we are now offering an examination in 4 subjects during one examination. It's because of the war conditions, because we cannot offer 3 hours of testing on specific days and different days. But we should be aware that until we have an opportunity to offer something for the children living in the temporarily occupied territories, we are not ready to offer different days for assessment and testing. To come for 4 times on different 4 days, you have to be able to do that. In Ukraine, for example, we might have offered a 4-day test, resulting in the fact that for many children it would be 8 days because of the constant air raid alerts, something you cannot avoid. Then electricity supply is not sustainable everywhere. So 8-day test is something which is not real for a school leaver, for a guy from a temporarily occupied territories. You see, they live under the stress and the conditions that we have been forced to change the format. If the circumstances are different and we can offer at least 2 days of testing, we will be happy to do so and we'll be ready to implement this. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your detailed answers. We've been talking about the National Multidisciplinary Test for the year 2025 and its specific. The Ukraine Media Center will resume airing next week. Stay tuned and glory to Ukraine.